Hey everybody, welcome to Cut, Transform, Glue. So this is it, this is the final video of the repair robot build. In this one I'm gonna show you guys how I painted the base, the woman engineer, and also I'm gonna show you how I added the last details as the wires and some antennas and some other stuff to the robot. I'm super excited that I've completed this project that has taken the best part of this year. So without any further ado, let's get to it. Let me begin by showing you guys how I painted the base and also how I came up with that color scheme that you guys have seen on the pictures in the beginning of the video. So as I did in the robot, I didn't have like a picture or a color palette to follow when painting the base. But I knew that I wanted some metal colors on the lower half of the circle and some concrete and some light grays on the top of it. So to begin painting, I masked the top part of the base and then I could apply the metal color to the lower half. So I'm going to apply this dark metal to the bottom half of the base, and then on the top of it I'm going to apply some other colors, and then I'm going to create some chipping effect on the base. So as you can tell by the background noises, it was really raining that day, so the paint took a while to set. And then I had some time to decide on the colors, and I decided to paint this middle section on a nice red, just this middle section. So that's what I did next. I did some masking on the lower part that I wanted to keep on the metal color, and then I painted the middle section. I felt that this middle section, it turned out just a little darker than I wanted, but I was okay with it, and I removed the masking tape so that I can better see the contrast between the two colors. And with the red paint not 100% set yet, I started the chipping process, and this is when I discovered some nice things about chipping. So when it comes to chipping, I always did my chipping with some sponge, with the sponge technique, but when it comes to real chipping, I have always used some sharp tools like metal tools. But in the middle of this project, I discovered that by using my fingernails to be more precise, I was able to obtain a nicer and kind of more gentle chipping on the paint. Like I was able to remove some of the paint on the top layer without harming the paint underneath it, so it was a nice discovery. Also, I decided to try to use some rags to do some chipping, and rags also do a nice effect when it comes to chipping. It kind of takes the paint in some really tiny spots. It creates some really tiny spots on the painting that is really nice, as you can see in this shot. And of course I went too far in some spots, and I'm showing the primer on those spots, but that's okay, I'll work that on the wash process. I did this project almost out of order when it comes to painting, so in this part of the project I decided to apply some accent colors on some parts of the base. And again, using some rag, I did some chipping on the paint that I had just put. And I wanna say, guys, that I feel like the repair robot build, this whole diorama, really changed me when it comes to the painting process. I feel like in the past I was more worried about the steps when it comes to the painting, and it was making the process not as fun as I wanted. And of course I made some mistakes on this one, like putting some wash over the matte varnish. I won't do that again because it makes really a mess in the painting. But I don't know, I feel like this time I was more free and I tried stuff and I did things out of order, and I had more fun in this project than I had in the ones before. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out, kind of say it out loud and remind myself, and also tell you guys to just try to have fun. This is the most important thing when it comes to model make, at least for me. As I did on the robot, I wanted to create some signs, some letters, and some symbols on the base as well. So I did some masking with some arrows and also some other stuff. So again, I applied some thin layers of paint and I used my hair dryer to kind of set the paint quick, and then I removed the masking tape and the arrow was there, nice and precise. Now it is too perfect for this beat up base, so I did some chipping on the arrow. And as I wanted to create some narrative on the base, I decided to add some letters on the side of the arrows to kind of look like they are some specific types of plugs or some stuff like that. And of course, these letters were also chipped. As I said in the beginning of this video, I wanted the top part of the base to be some kind of concrete or something like that. So I'm gonna paint it in some light gray, and then I'm gonna add some colors with brush. So I've mixed some shades of gray, and with the brush I applied them to some segments of the base kinda randomly. And I'm using a brush just because it's quicker than using an airbrush, because if that was the case I would have to make some masks and that would take a lot of time. And once I was satisfied with the colors that I had, I decided to add some letters. These letters were cut with masking tape using an X-Acto knife. In this case right here, I chosen to do the letter S and the letter B as in service bay. I'll add a number to that service bay later on the process, but for now I just had to remove the masking tape, and then I used a thin brush to do some kind of repairs in the letters because it didn't turn out as perfect. Once I felt that the letters were in a good shape overall, I decided to make some chipping. So again, by using a rag, I made some chipping on the letters. And then I moved on to painting the foot pads. And for those, I decided to do a metal color, a dark metal color, and I painted it with brush. So these are the colors of the top of the base, and now that it is all set and dry, I can do the number. And again, using masking tape, I masked the number 7 kind of randomly, and then I applied some thin coats of the accent color on that. And of course, to that number I also did the chipping effect with a rag. And now I'm finished painting the base. All of the colors that I wanted are there, and the only thing left to do here is to make the wash. But before I do that, I'm gonna paint the woman engineer first. Now for the woman engineer, I feel like I want the pants to be in a bluish gray and the shirt to be in a warm white. After that I'm gonna paint the the skin colors and then the hair. So these right here are the colors mixed for the clothes of the engineer, and I started this process by painting the paints. So this is the color of the pants, and now I'm gonna move on to the boots and also the utility pouch that's hanging from her belt. And again, to avoid having to mask it, I'm painting it by brush. After that, I masked the pants and I painted the shirt in this warm white. Okay, so now I have the clothes on a base color, and then I'll mix some colors, some shades of those colors to kind of give the model more volume. And those shades, of course, would be applied by brush. To create these other shades of colors to the clothes, I didn't just mix like white and black to it. I actually added some yellow to make the lighter colors warmer and some blue to make the darker colors like cool. The result is subtle, but it is there. And now I can move on to the skin colors. So for that I mixed a bunch of variants and I also painted it by brush. I gotta say that painting the face was hard. I did the eyes and the features with a toothpick because I didn't have the right brush for that. I feel like this is obvious, but I'm gonna say it anyways. When it comes to figure painting, I'm not an expert, and I'm sure if you look in the internet, you're going to find a lot of awesome artists out there that do a way better job. I'm just kind of following my intuition right here and seeing where this takes me. Off camera I painted her face and her tablet, and then I applied a coat of matte varnish. Now the only thing left to do here is to paint the screen of her tablet. So for the screen of the tablet I mixed this cool white. I used a lot of white and just a touch of blue. And to kind of try to portray a screen of a tablet with paint, I decided to try to make a gradient. So this is the result, and I feel like this creates an illusion, just like when you're looking at a screen in an outside area where there's a lot of light. So I'm pretty happy with it. So now every piece of the base is painted, the woman is painted, and now I can move on to the washing process. For this wash, again I'm using some oil colors, and I mixed a bunch of them. I have some darker ones to kind of portray like oils, and I also have some lighter ones just to look like dirt or something like that. And I know that I say that a lot, but I feel like the wash process is the most fun one. And I feel like this is the one that makes the model to really shine. And I feel like this is the one that kind of gives life to the model. So as always, you apply the dirt, the oil wash in the places that you feel like are supposed to be dirty, and then you clean it, and you repeat this process until you're satisfied with the amount of dirtiness that you have on those spots. After a while, a couple of hours, this is the result, And of course I didn't apply the final coat of matte varnish to it. As you can see, the oils are not 100% set yet, but these colors will do a little after that, but that's okay. So this is the end result after you apply the final coat of matte varnish. As you can see in the shot, the colors did do a little, but that's okay because I feel like it helps like to show the scale of the diorama. I don't know why, I just feel that way. And well, maybe it is because that when you see things at a distance, the colors tends to dull, and I feel like, I don't know, it makes sense in my head. So now I'm starting adding the final details to the base, like the final tubulation work, and then I'm gluing the cover of those tubes, and then I can move on to the robot. Now in the robot, I have a lot of work to do when it comes to adding wires and tubes. Like for now, for instance, I'm working on the head. I have to add a lot of antennas, some wires to the sides, so that's what I'm doing right here. And I have a challenge for you guys. If you come this far in the video, I want you to leave me a comment and tell me what you think the antenna that I just put in the head is made out of. It is a fun one because I feel like it's unpredictable and kind of an unusual material. Also, I have these nails right here. They are made of aluminum. They are actually not nails, of course. They are used to make some other types of stuff, but I like to add them to my models to kind of guide the wires in the structure. So I always do some holes, and then I add these U-shaped things to kind of guide the wires. I do that because I feel like I like to keep some stuff without paint on the model. Like these aluminum wires don't have paint on it, of course, and it kind of, I don't know, if I feel like it adds a variety of finishes to the model that I couldn't obtain with paint. And on this matter, the finishes of the tubes and the wires also add to the model, I feel. Now, sometimes you'll have to drill some extra holes in the model after it's painted, and this can be like frightening, but you just have to go for it. I felt like it needed another antenna right here, and I just did it, and I feel happy about it. So this is the head with the wires and the antennas, and I have to add the lenses to the cameras on the side, but I'll do that after I do this one. This is the, as I said in my Instagram, the Death Stranding like arm that comes out of the back of the robot, and I feel like this has a lot of sensors and cameras to kind of help the robot to see where it needs to go, what it has to do, and so I'm adding the lenses to it as well. Let me know in the comments if you feel like you know where these lenses came from, and of course I'm gonna tell you if you got this right. I also added a wire to the back of this piece. And as a last detail that I wanted to give this piece, I did this one on the front that I feel like it's like a torch, and it kind of helps the robot to kind of weld stuff, I guess. So this is the result of the third arm, the head of the third arm of the robot, and I feel like adding these details by adding the wires and the lenses, I can really add to the narrative of the robot and make it nice. I also add the lenses to the head, as you can see right here. And of course, I also had to add some details to the legs. So I made some of the holes that I left opened in the leg wider to kind of hold the wires that I had. And I had to add the wires to the leg because I feel like the legs are where the robot needs to look strong, and it kind of holds the whole weight of the robot, so it has to have a certain look to it. Many of you ask me what are these types of wires. There's nothing too fancy about it. This one is from, I believe it's from Audio Instruments. It is super cheap. You can buy them by meters here in my country. This one right here has this matte finish to it. I feel like this looks super nice. And as you just saw, I had to drill some holes in the feet. This is where the wire goes to, where it ends up going. And yeah, I feel like this makes sense and it looks nice also. In this shot right here, I'm showing you guys that I also used some other gauges of wires. Just to keep it like dynamic and not boring, I added some colored wires. Yeah, so this is the result. On one side I have one wire, in the other side I have two thinner colored wires. These wires are also guided by the U-shaped aluminum things, and also in the legs, as I did in the arms, I added this antenna right here to kind of look like sensors. As some of my oldest subscribers can tell, all of my robots have a backpack. This one is no different, and in this one the backpack is like a battery pack, so I had to add some wires to it as well. So again, I'm mixing different gauges of wires, and they kind of go one on each side and connect to the battery. And now with the wires added and all of the last details added to the robot, I can start assembling it. Now this robot is well balanced and I'm pretty happy with it. It stands up even without the base, so I didn't have to add a lot of glue to it to keep it in place. Just a few drops on every joint and it is all good. Also, it's not shown on video, but the base has a hole that goes through it, and it attaches a bolt to the bottom of the feet of the robot, so it's held in place by that. And of course, then I'll add this one right here, which is the power cable that has like a steel rod inside, so it is all nice and secured. The last wire that I'm adding right now is the power cable that comes from the arm of the robot, and it goes inside of the power drill. And then I added the woman engineer, and the diorama is finally complete. And this right here is my repaired robot diorama and project complete. I'm so happy with it, guys. I cannot even tell you guys how much I loved the end result. And I feel like in this one I reached a new level when it comes to details. And also I feel like this one does a better job in telling the scale. And of course I did some mistakes when it comes to the painting process, but by the end of it, I just love it. I'm so happy with it. I'm so proud of the result, and I really want to share with you guys all the pictures that I can, because I'm really happy with it. As I said in the beginning of the video, this project took me the better part of this year. This strange and quarantined year. Yeah, I'm so happy that I finished it. If you come this far and if you watched the other videos and you enjoyed the process, thanks a lot for that, and thanks a lot for watching this one right here. Leave me a comment. I love to read it and also answer it. You know the drill. Like and share and subscribe if you can, and if you wanna go one step further, there's a Ko-fi account in the description box. But as always, thanks for watching.